Holy stomachache. This is Flight Check Season 2, Episode 2. We are here to cover FlyQuest in every capacity once again, from League to Smash to merch to quests, and we are hyped to bring you yet another episode of high-quality content. Lock-in has begun. Spoiler alert, FlyQuest did what we asked them to do, but not necessarily in the way we expected it to happen, in my opinion. My name is Sandy Toes, and to my left and my extra left are my fellow hosts, Nox War and Curly Double Q. Nox, how did you enjoy having LCS back before your eyes this weekend?
It was about as nice as seeing Road gift 5 gifted subs to the whole community. So
Ooh.
Thank you, Road. I appreciate it.
Now that's a poggers.
It's great because he even gifted me a sub to my own channel. That's pretty pog. Okay, but in all seriousness, no, it felt so great to be watching LCS again. So we can get into the details of the games here in a little bit, but it was nice to sit down. Here's some North American League of Legends happening, and I thought it was some pretty okay-looking North American League of Legends, honestly. So I'm hyped. I'm ready for more.
Yeah, no, it was great to see. I mean, all the leagues are back up. LPL, LCK, LEC, LCS. LEC had some very interesting results themselves this past weekend, so lots to talk about for sure. Curly, I'd love to get your thoughts on just how you feel the first weekend of LCS was overall. I mean, we had 3 days, so a super week, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah.
A lot of content to take in.
Oh, yeah.
A real mix of, the academy teams and academy players coming in and subs and everything. I mean, was it good League of Legends, or was it just some League of Legends on the big screen for us?
I mean, for me personally, I enjoyed the quality of play overall. Like, there was maybe 1 or 2 matches I'm just like, all right, this happened. I was there. But, like, for the most part, I still think it was very entertaining, especially because, like, I struggled to really power rank a lot of the teams. And then to find out that, I was wrong about some of them, honestly, actually very exciting because I like having expectations be shattered.
Right.
It makes, I think, professional play more interesting, and just really, makes competition exciting. Now, that being said, because a good 50-ish% of these rosters aren't really the main rosters he's going for, you have to take everything with a slight grain of salt, because it's not, this isn't the team that they plan to play with, but that's not to discredit the players that are on there, because, TSM Academy came and kicked our butts. So, they're doing real good, and then Sven showing that he's still a really good ADC on Cloud9.
Yeah.
So, it's just very, very exciting all around, and I really love having League of Legends to watch again.
Yeah. And I do want to ask you one more question about LEC real quick. We'll have a quick LEC moment here.
Yeah, baby.
Team Vitality. What happened? They were supposed to be the new gods of the LEC, and feels like an absolute fall from grace for these players. What is going on over there?
Well, what you have to chalk that up to is a bunch of things, right? Number one, they were never actually able to secure Cadril as a coach. So, that's a huge thing.
Oh, no.
Because they might... Cadril, honestly has a good brain for the game, and I really think that he'd be able to coach a squad like that. But, on top of that, it's just... I think you're seeing the problems of getting a bunch of top-tier players with similar styles, is that I don't think they're meshing quite well together right now. Now, in the long run, I think there's ample room for them to actually get back on the caliber that we expect these players to perform with and play more as a unit. But I really just think it's just lacking in the team play aspect. And then, I'm not going to go into details, but I feel like they could have went for a different top laner if they wanted.
I was about to say I'm sure you're loving the fact that Alfari's 0-3 right now.
I'm just saying, man. It's like, I don't know. But then on top of that, Perks also underperforming, but also Perks, in my opinion, underperformed early last split in C9, but then kind of fell into his rhythm throughout the year. So maybe he just needs to grind, get that little startup. I do think Vitality just has a lot to work on. And also, it's not just Alfari I'm dipping on. I think Selfmade could use a lot. I haven't seen growth from Selfmade as a jungler in the last year. So, because when you're a pro player, you should always be improving in some aspects. So you're always on top of your shit. And I just haven't seen that. So that's what I think happened with Vitality. As for Fnatic, well, I mean, bro. Hylissang is just a god, and then Yamato.
He didn't even die in his first game.
He didn't even die in his first game. It's so crazy. No, I think Fnatic's going to make a good run here. They just got to stay on top of their stuff, and then just a lot of other aspects of the league. I'm like kind of confused about because G2. I'm not sure how I feel about them.
Yeah.
Misfits love VTO so much. Honestly, like watching him play and then see, like anytime I see Misfits win a game, I actually get very happy for VTO specifically.
Yeah.
So just a lot going on in LEC, but I don't want to take up too much time. This is a FlyQuest themed podcast.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, lots of interesting stuff going on over there. I gotta go back and review all those games at some point. I will say real quick, for those who missed the season premiere last week, we've got a new look, as you can tell, for a brand new season. And one other brand new thing, I'm going to unashamedly shill once again. We did activate Twitch affiliate status for the channel. You're now able to subscribe to the show. Thank you to Roadroller for the 5 gifted subs earlier. Very much appreciate that. Feel free to drop any primers if you've got it right now. We will not spend our time on the show calling out subs usually, but we will definitely hit those near the end just so that we don't interrupt discussion too much. Got some fancy sub badges and still working on getting together some emotes for any subbers in the chat. We do appreciate any support that folks give. All right, so let's get into the big thing for us this weekend. LCS lock-in started Friday, and let's be honest, not a great start for FlyQuest on that first day. Had a match first up against TSM Academy. That was a real slobber knocker, if you will. That game, I mean, how long did that game? Was that a 50-minute game?
It was lower 40s. I think
it was long.
I'm trying to find the. I can't.
Post-match thread.
I can't find the. Oh, here's the scoreboard. That's what I was looking for. It was a 50-minute and 7-second game. And what was really funny to me was that I was watching this game with my girlfriend, and I was like, I promise. We were going to go to the store after the game was ending. And I had said, yeah, the games usually average 30 to 35 minutes right now. And then the game just kept going. And then the game just kept going. And I was like, I promise games don't normally take this long. And then the game just kept going. And then eventually the Aphelios and the Corki were just too much for the team comp to really take the beating from anymore. But I think there were a lot of interesting things that we saw from this game. Aphromoo Thresh right off to start. I was really excited to see Johnson on the Jinx. Mm-hmm. That was a pick that I was really excited to see because that is a real carry threat. And that is showing, for me, a lot of trust in him. And I believe he played the Jinx several times. Throughout the weekend. And honestly, I think he looked pretty good on it every single time. So I'm hopeful that the Jinx is in the meta for a while, because if this is a champion that he feels good on and can really carry games on and consistently deal out that AoE splash damage with, I think we'll be in a pretty good situation with the bot lane. Nox, I mean, yeah, let's just talk about the bot lane for these first 2 games. Let's focus on the first 2 games, the Friday matches first. I just want to hear your thoughts on what you were seeing from Johnson and Aframu, because we called them out as needing to really step up and return to those 2020 ways, that 2020 form that they had on Dignitas.
So, for sure in the laning phase, it looks like Dig 2020 is back, right? They were constantly winning the lane, they were constantly having pressure, they were constantly having priority. Only time it ever got taken away from was whenever an enemy jungler was obviously making his presence known. So, at least in terms of lane phase, I was super satisfied with how our bot lane looked. I will say Johnson still needs to continue to clean it up going into the mid game and late game. There were a couple picks that he had. There was a couple moments where he stuck around on tower too long and got dived. Stuff of that sort, especially in the first 2 games. He was looking better and better going into the 100 Thieves and Golden Guardians games, but the Cloud9 and TSM ones, there was multiple times where it was just like, you probably shouldn't have been there, dude. You should have probably either backed off or you should have had a little bit better positioning. But at least for the time being, our bot lane, and especially Aframo himself, is looking really, really good right now. And I think that goes to show why we had him as our number 1 on our Christmas wish list over this offseason, right? So I've been very, very happy with Aframo overall, and I think Johnson looks a lot better compared to what he was performing with Diamond last year in the bot lane, at least during lane phase. They were okay. They were holding their ground, and even times getting 2v2 kills. But pretty much consistently, all 4 matches this weekend, it was at least in the lane phase, our bot lane looked good. And I think I even made a comment to Tim7 Houston when I was just chatting in the Oracle's Elixir Discord. I was I think honestly, if you go look at the CSD8 new stat line that LCS is using for their metrics, you'll see that ProSun, as I'm calling it, they're probably at least bare minimum top 4 in terms of CSD at 8, right? I think they are up there in terms of bot lane potential right now. So I'm very, very excited with how they've been looking. They looked good. I want to continue to see them grow, especially on Johnson's part. But right now, I'm very satisfied with how they came out of the gates past weekend.
Yeah, Curly, I mean, in terms of watching their performance, I mean, Jinx, it doesn't feel like a character that we saw Johnson on at all last season. I don't think Jinx was really meta last season, but giving him that kind of carry potential, I'm not sure if we saw a lot of that last year. What do you think?
Watching Johnson this weekend was very, very different than watching Johnson last year. Apologies. And the Jinx is just really exciting to watch. He knows how to use it. My favorite thing was when I saw him flash in to he was going for a quadra in that match against Golden Guardians. He was trying for that. Yeah. He was ready. And he definitely could have got it. He had all the tools and the confidence. And so I love seeing that. And so as long as that can translate over to some other ADCs, I would love to, I'll be very excited to watch this bot lane. Because especially also, it's not just when he's with Afromu, it's when Afromu has to go to Takui. Mm-hmm. And how I want to say there was not really many times where he was playing weak side that he really suffered. And he still was keeping up CS wise with his lane opponents. And so I feel like Johnson stepped up a bit. And so I want to see him keep climbing, keep stepping up. And if just having Afro back as that support that he feels comfortable with and knows the habits, that makes me very happy to see.
Yeah, definitely. Great. I was really excited to see what it would look like with Aframu on this team. And not to jump ahead too far, but he did do an interview after our second set of games. And he was asked, what was going on, what's the difference between Friday's games and Sunday's games. And he just said it was a lot of the timings were off. And this was really interesting for me to hear that, they just weren't in sync. And then once they synced up, once they had their communication down better, Sunday is what they were able to produce. And I think that bodes really well for the rest of the season. If they have that communication down, if they can sync up their timings, I think that's really good.
I find it interesting that you actually mentioned that, because today when I was doing a couple of VOD reviews on stream, that is one thing I really pressed upon, because I watched our match against C9, and I don't remember, it was a Drake fight that would have been very winnable if Kumo had waited 2 seconds to ult on Ornn. And I dipped into that because I pointed out why these 2 seconds were just very crucial, because he was up there and Afromu was ready to lay down the CC chain, but Viego was just out of reach. Tukui had just finished TPing and the ward was way far back and he took a long time to get there.
Yeah.
And then Johnson was just behind Viego. So there all of your damage was still waiting to get there. So I was I don't know why this happened too early, because if he had waited those 2 seconds for everyone to be in proximity, C9 was grouped up. There was at least 3 of them that you were going to get a CC chain onto. You would have won that fight and denied Soul. And then later they even because it was a Chemtech Soul. The unfortunate reality was they did have good timing, but then zombies posed a threat. Right. So I do. I think time is something we need to work on.
I actually have a theory about why, at least for the first 2 games, our timing was off. And that has to do with scrim meta currently. Basically what I've heard from scrimmage-wise from amongst the LCS teams is everything has been super fast-paced. Super, super fast-paced. Everyone's just go, 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 go right now. So I think part of it is right now, coming on the stage, right, everything slows down a ton. And so I'm sure it takes a while for kind of this brand new squad playing on stage together for the first time to kind of get oh, hold on, we got to figure out the same speed at the same time. Because I'm sure some members are wanting to go a little quicker than others. And basically, you could kind of see it in the back 2 games. They started congealing more and they were hitting that kind of timing windows more together at the same time. Whereas in the first 2 games, they were more separated. You had some people going a little sooner than others, or some others going a little later. So that's kind of my theory for the time being. And now that we're kind of getting the Pack 2 games kind of centered, I think we should be good going into Saturday.
Yeah, looking into kind of the comps that we ran, I mean, fairly standard comps, I would say, for these first 2 games. Maybe the Gragas top was a little bit different than what we might have expected, but I feel honestly, that first game versus TSM, when I saw the Gragas top, I was excited, and then immediately was less excited when Viper counterpicked the Corki top into the Gragas. And from there, I was just well, okay, Kumo's going to have a really difficult time in lane. You've got this double AD threat. I mean, Viper and Instinct really just poured out the damage, I felt, in that game.
So technically, Corki's AP.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Double marksman threat.
Yeah, double marksman threat is what I was going for. And then double AP with the LeBlanc, though. And then into what I wanted to talk about next was the Xin Zhao for Jose Deodo, a pick he went 3 times with over the course of this weekend. The only other pick he went with was the Viego in the loss to Cloud9. But a lot of Xin Zhao focus for Jose, and I feel like the sentiment I saw from the community was not a lot of folks were impressed with his Xin Zhao play on day 1. And Curly, I wonder how you felt about Jose Deodo's performance in these first 4 games. I was not necessarily too impressed on day 1. Sunday, I felt he looked a lot better, and that might have just been a reflection of the team as a whole. But that first Xin Zhao game looked a little rough, if I'm being honest.
For sure, and when I was watching it, I was initially looking through the closed blinds of how, he has of the 2 times he's played Xin Zhao in the LCS, he lost, and so that made it number 3, and it didn't look like the Jose Dioto that we had seen before, that we had expected. And so I was just I was disappointed, admittedly. And so seeing the shift in Sunday made me a little bit happier. Because on Friday, it just felt like he was hesitant. He wasn't confident in making certain pathing decisions, trying to get control over certain neutral objectives. And then one thing I noticed all weekend is I don't think we ever got first. No, we got first Drake once, but it took a really long time. And the rest of it, I think we gave away the Drakes and prioritized the Herald. So I don't know if that's meta. I don't know if that's our coaching plan. I don't know if that's his thing. But even with the one first Drake we had, the fact that it took I didn't say it was against Golden Guardians, and I want to say it took 12, 13 minutes before anyone even thought about the Drake. And so something I want to see regardless is maybe a little bit of up-tempo and trying to set up those neutral objectives. But he definitely seemed more on top of his game yesterday, and that he was more confident, more coordinated with his laners.
Knox, anything you want to add on to that?
I mean, Curly kind of took my whole point, honestly. He kind of just nailed it. Yeah, no, I think overall, it kind of goes back to the whole coordination thing, just kind of getting warmed up, which is the whole point of this tournament, right? So,
right.
I think first couple days, just coordination wasn't there. And, I mean, historically, even, Jose's and Xin Zhao's never been the most amazing thing to watch ever, right? There was a couple games back in 2021 where we're like, I don't know about this, man. And so, I mean, even the very first day it was back, I think people were kind of groaning, oh, Xin Zhao, really? That's the first thing we're doing when we get back, and then we lose the game. And we're like, don't do it again, don't do it. Yeah. No, I think really it kind of just comes down to I'm still not really sold on the Xin Zhao pick for Jose, but at least he's shown that if it's super meta and it's helpful for the team comp, it's salvageable, right? Whereas last year it was kind of just don't pick it, please. So.
Right.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'd rather still not really see him on it, but at the end of the day, if the team needs him on it, because I know it's super meta right now, it'll work. But I'm not looking for him to do any huge carrying at all.
Yeah, looking at the data right now, only 4 games played, but 50. So in 2 of them, first Dragon was gone for by FlyQuest and taken.
All right.
And then in terms of Dragon control rate, so that's percent of all dragons killed that were taken by the team, 35%. So not a huge focus on dragons by this team so far. And that's only through 4 games, so it's a very, very small sample size to work with. But maybe some other, encouraging statistics. There was one that I saw earlier that was pretty good. Not super far down in terms of goal differential at 15. The early game rating still pretty low, but the mid to late rating is actually pretty comparable. Actually, the second best mid to late rating through LCS lock-in so far. And that's not...
Just like old FlyQuest Academy?
Just like old FlyQuest. Imagine that. Now, of course, not all the data is in here, I believe, and some... not all the data is in yet. Dignitas only has 1 game in here, so this is not super accurate. But, still, maybe some encouraging signs. I mean, just in terms of the eye test, I felt so much better watching this team than I did for a large portion of last year. The decision making already felt better. The laning already felt better. I really enjoyed watching Tukui in lane. He seems like he
loved Tukui,
except for the one solo bolo by Ryoma in the Golden Guardians matchup. Just one small misstep there. I think he miscalculated the ignite tick and how much damage that would do. But this group stage, I felt so much better about than so many games that we played last year. So TSM, a long 50-minute slog of a loss, and then the Cloud9 game, bit more of a standard L. I just want to talk about the team comp in that game really quick. I was not super jazzed about this composition. The Ornn, the Viego. I mean, Corki is definitely meta right now, as is Aphelios, but yeah. I just was not... In terms of what Cloud9 drafted, some very aggressive champions in the Akshan, the Lee Sin, the Jace. Just a lot of champions there that really can take control of the game. And it felt like we really played to scale. And it just like a nice, simple scaling comp. And I don't know if you can really do that against a team like Cloud9, even one that's running, several academy players, but several academy players who are very good at what they do. So I just wasn't too pleased with this draft in particular. And Nox, I mean, how do you feel about like that Ornn pick and just running scaling in general right now?
So I'm looking at the actual draft order, right? In which case, so Cloud9 took Lee Sin first, in which case we followed up with a Corki Aphelios, which is hugely meta, right? So right. I was very satisfied with that. Like, okay, that's cool, it's fine, great, love it. And then Cloud9 follows up with the Jace Ziggs, which that's like kind of it's a bit of a flex, right? Like you don't know which is going where. Like the Jace could go top or mid, the Ziggs could go mid or bot, depending on whoever. Like it's kind of weird, right? So that kind of leaves Fly in a bit of a weird spot of like, okay, we don't know where this is going yet. So we're gonna follow with the Viego for Jose Diota, which is more than fine. That's like one of his more stronger champions that we know of. And then we go through the ban phase some more, and then at that point, Cloud9 finishes up with the Akshan and the Nautilus. And at that point, you have to kind of look at Cloud9's comp and go, okay, they don't really have any tanks outside of Nautilus, and even then, like, Nautilus is somewhat tanky, but isn't super tanky, right? Everything is fairly squishy. You have no true marksman outside of the Akshan, which his damage isn't, like, truly marksman level 80 carry damage. It's strong, it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same level of DPS that an actual marksman can pump out, right? So you go look at your list of tank options and something that can interrupt and engage, because if you look at FlyQuest's comp, the only thing that's really engaging for you is the Rakan, which needs a little bit of help engaging sometimes. It's not the only thing that can really get a fight started. So you get this Ornn going in for the long range engage going in that kind of helps set up Rakan going in. I think it kind of works out, honestly. More than anything, I personally was okay with the comp. I think maybe some of the priority on the support maybe should have been changed. I don't think I had bigger issue with the Rakan than anything. Even then, I don't think the Rakan's that big of an issue. So comp wise, I'm fairly okay with it overall, but that's just my perspective, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair enough. Yeah, I just feel like I've seen a good mix of styles so far from all the various regions. You know, some scaling, some aggressive stuff. And I always enjoy seeing our team when we play aggressive and really, gunning to get ahead quickly. So maybe this comp isn't for me, but hey, if it wins, then, I'm not going to complain too much about that. Speaking of winning, though, Sunday was much better than Friday was, and it all started with an upset victory over 100 Thieves. So we get upset by TSM Academy, and then we commit our own upset over 100 Talk Pod. We strike first blood in the fan podcast versus fan podcast battle. And this was really great to see. For several reasons for me. One, it showed to me the ability to remain strong mentally after a tough 0-2 to start the weekend. and then you have to go in, you're down 0-2, and you have to go in against the team that literally won LCS less than 4 months ago, and the roster that is basically the same except they subbed in Tenacity for Someday. I don't think it would have made a difference if Someday was in instead of Tenacity here. And I liked the draft here a lot. I think Kumo on the Gwen is something that I really want to see more of. We got to see Johnson on the Jinx again, and that looked really good. He ends up going 6-2-3 on that. Kumo goes 4-2-2. So I just felt really good about this game. It felt like a great win, and a really necessary win. So just in terms of like mentality and narrative, this was a very important, strong win. And Curly, I feel like you, I feel like you resonate with that a little bit, just in terms of like strong, mental wins in terms of this game.
100%, like especially because you go into Sunday after having the day you had on Friday, and like most seems to be like, oh man, we got to take on the defending champion. All right, let's see how this goes, right? And if I remember correctly, they didn't lose the rest of the weekend, so we're the ones that handed them their own loss. And then, like, as someone who's watching, I saw some good plays, and I was always on the edge of my seat. I was like, all right, when do we throw it? When do we throw it? And then there was some point where I was like, wait, we're winning.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like they're not coming back from this. And so it was just very inspiring for me, even as a fan, to just like truly be like, all right, this is what my squad can do. And I think that'll just bode really well for the rest of Lock-In, and just hopefully the rest of the season. And maybe, maybe it's just 100 Thieves is our TSM of this year, where we win most of the time. Because last year we only dropped one match, even though they were always top 3 team, right? And so maybe 100 Talk Pod just has to get used to being on the losing side of FlyQuest matchups. Jeez. And that's okay, because we're still friends at the end of the day. But in all seriousness, very important win. Very important win.
You opening the oven again, Curly? Damn.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting to see the couple different bans coming out for us in this game that I thought were interesting. The Akshan ban, the Diana ban was also interesting for me to see.
So I don't know if you saw the statistic or not, Sandy, but we banned Diana in all 4 games.
Yes, that was one of the trends that I did notice. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder why we don't like Diana very much. And I hope we don't have to play against one anytime soon.
Yeah, there's got to be something in scrim culture going around right now, because what's interesting is there was only 2 other Diana bans the rest of the weekend. 4 out of the 6 Diana bans came from us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just something very interesting that I
something in the scrim water, perhaps. One other trend that I do want to point out now that we've gotten to Sunday's games. 2 games of Corki and 2 games of Syndra for Tukui. So very much the control mage has arrived for FlyQuest. I believe I heard some folks referring to him as a younger version of PoE. And look, PoE is a good player. I like having a good, strong control mage player on the team. And honestly, these performances from him, I felt were really strong. His laning looked pretty good. He did fairly well, I thought, in all the games. He had a couple times where he got... I'm failing to remember exactly which game it was, but there was one particular instance where he got caught out. He narrowly escaped. His positioning looked really good throughout the entire weekend, and I was fairly impressed watching him on the LCS stage the first time. There was one comment that Mark Z made in the Golden Guardians game where he was going up against Ryoma, and Mark Z mentions that Ryoma is like the gatekeeper if you want to know how good you're going to be in the LCS mid lane. And I was a little concerned with that one because I feel like Tukui is certainly a better mid laner in my opinion than Ryoma right now. So I didn't know how much I appreciated you got to get past Ryoma if you want to, consider yourself to be a good mid laner in this league. But I felt like Tukui really handled himself pretty well against, some strong mids. Abadage and Fudge. I mean, Fudge looked pretty good in the mid lane all weekend. So I felt like I was impressed. I'm happy to have a stable mid laner player. And so that felt just really good for me to see.
Yeah, more than anything, I think compared to Palafox last year, and even Palafox so far in this tournament, it's just nice to see a laner who, like, even if he's not constantly winning, and this is kind of something that I brought up when I was, like, kind of scouting Tukui back in the offseason, is even if he's not constantly winning his lane anymore, because that's something I wasn't sure about how he would do once he came over to the LCS, like, he's still constantly putting pressure on the enemy opposing laner, right? And so, more than anything, like, compared to Palafox last year, there was times where, like, Palafox was just constantly losing it, or if he was kind of, like, neutral in the lane, he wasn't able to contain his opposing laner. This seemed like that no matter what, Tukui always had his opponent at least in check in some form. Like, you could go for this roam, but then I'm going to go take some tower plays of yours, and I'm going to get a lot of gold for that. Or you can continue to shove me in, but then my lanes are actually currently winning, which is a whole separate discussion that we can go over a bit later. Just that, like, Tukui made sure that, like, the opposing mid laner could never do anything that they fully wanted to. And that just feels so good to know that we have on our team right now, right? So hopefully he continues to improve upon that. He can start to show his LFL level a little bit, where he was just constantly winning the lane, and we can continue to make leads that way. But at least for the time being, he's holding his ground, and that's what I really, really wanted to see coming into this week.
Yeah, Curly, anything you want to follow up there?
I mean, I like watching his laning phase, because I had noticed that at least in most of what I saw this weekend, he, like, always was just putting pressure on his opponent. Always, like, he always had the bigger health bar, because he figured out, even if it was on screen, like, they go bot lane to see what the quick 2v2 trade that always happens, and then you go back and suddenly Tukui's opponent is, like, at 70% health, and you're like, when did that happen? And he's perfectly fine. And it's like, he just figures out ways to, like, make them feel unsafe in lane. And then, especially on Syndra, he gets level 6. And he's like, all right, time to win. Unless he gets Sleepy Trap leveled and ignited.
Well, unless that happens.
Yeah. But he has the confidence to go all in, and, like, usually the tools to do it too. And that's something I like to see.
Yeah, for sure. One last topic I want to hit on before we get on to previewing next week. We've hit every position on the team basically so far, except for top lane. So, Curly, let's just talk about that real quick. As our resident top lane expert, so 2 games of Gragas, a game of Gwen, and a game on Ornn. And Kumo coming into the season, a player that I think there was community sentiment that, not super jazzed about bringing him back into the starting lineup, even with a, relatively good showing last year. I think several people thought there were more exciting prospects elsewhere. But I felt like he looked pretty good in these 4 games. And, yeah, I just want to hear what your perspective was on that.
For sure. Personally, I think he did a pretty good job. I would still like to see more from him in the future, but one thing I want to point out is that in most of his matchups this weekend, he was at a disadvantage, just inherently matchup wise for laning phase, where it's like he was always going to be behind in CS in lane prio, or at least that's how it should be, no matter what. But like against Darshan, he was always on par for CS and even actually had lane prio, even though Akshan should be able to wave clear way quicker than Ornn. And then against Camille, like he did a really solid job of just being able to like stay, just match, even though he should be at like he should be the one feeling all the pressure. So I think he's a very confident weak side player, which I think might hint at we're going to try to start playing through mid and bot a lot more, especially because if we've got a strong weak side top laner who will just become our tank, become our front line, so that he can soak up the damage while Takui and Johnson just shred the enemies, I think that'll be very good for our season. Now, that being said, when I say I want to see more, I would like to see a little bit more presence like I did on the Gwen. The Gwen match for me was very exciting, but I feel also partially that's because that's what that champion is supposed to do. Mm-hmm. If people aren't saying, oh my god, when you're playing Gwen, you're not playing Gwen right,
Yeah.
Because she's a oh my god champion. It's like playing Zed mid lane. You have to pop off. You are expected to. This is what you are here to do. And so the fact that he was able to do that in Gwen, I'm also very happy with that, because that means he's not just restricted to being the weak side tank. It shows that he has a good variety. And I'd like to see all the colors of Kumo that we can see over the season. I think just general team atmosphere is like something that's going to impact his play as well, because like I said earlier, that ult on Ornn was 2 seconds too early. So if he just needs to make sure he's timing his stuff right with his teammates, and he's a great asset to the team.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Nox, I just wanted to ask you one other question. So, I mean, I felt like this draft against 100 Thieves is something that we might see out of a more traditionally aggressive team like a Cloud9. And so, a little bit different perhaps than, maybe that first comp the comp we drafted against Cloud9 ourselves with the Ornn and the Aphelios. Still the Corki for Takui. But just like champions like the Jinx and the Gwen, to me, they just feel like they're on a different scale. Not to make like a scaling pun here, but like they just feel like they're on a different, I don't know, vibe maybe than is something like an Aphelios or an Ornn. And I don't know how you feel about that. It feels like it's just a different mentality when you lock those champs in, that you're saying, okay, we're here to dish out some damage, and to dish out some damage right from the get-go.
I mean, yeah. I mean, part of it is definitely the meta right now, I feel, in which case FlyQuest is just kind of following the meta a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, we haven't really ever seen, we haven't really seen that many games of like Kumo or Johnson playing these super fast-paced, aggressive champions, right? So I'm sure that's kind of where it feels a little nuanced and different, right? But I think, honestly, another part of it for me, watching Kumo on the Gwen, was that was Tenacity's very first game on stage in, like, the actual LCS, right? Mm-hmm. Outside of that, like, one sub game at the very end. We can ignore that one. Like, legitimate game, right?
Yeah.
And it felt to me like FlyQuest was like, all right, we're not going to just give you a tank matchup where you can abuse the lane and show off what you've got. You're going to have to earn this, and you're going to have to work for it. And probably the first, like, 15, 20 minutes of that game, Kumo and Tenacity were fairly even. It was kind of interesting because, like, it almost felt like a stalemate, right? Mm-hmm. This Kennen is picked for, like, these huge team fight, like, I'm surging in, I pop my ultimate, I'm going to get them all at once kind of situations. But then you had Kumo there who was just like, well, if you try and go for that, you're going to get chunked before you do, and the rest of my team will burst you down before you get the chance. And so a lot of it just felt kind of this back and forth of, like, trying to wiggle their way into opportunities here and there. And most of the game, Tenacity just was never able to get a fully functional ult onto FlyQuest because of Kumo's pressure. And then when Tenacity was like, okay, fine, look, I'm just going to leave you the hell alone, and I'm going to try and look for a team play for my team, Kumo was like, all right, well, I'll be halfway down your top lane taking all your turrets. Sorry. And I personally, I love that. I think it was a great little check for Kumo's confidence level, as well as kind of a, hey, just because you're the new kid on the block doesn't mean that someone who's ranked low in the power rankings is going to go easy on you. So I think overall, this was a huge confidence booster game for Fly, and I think they desperately need it. It's kind of what I was saying, honestly, even before the weekend began, was like, I think all three of us were kind of like, out of all the games, what we're going to probably lose, it's probably going to be at 100 Thieves.
Yeah.
And for me, in my perspective, if you have a matchup where you're just not going to win and you need to focus on the other teams, beating the other teams, this is the matchup where you should limit test. This is the matchup where it's like, let me see just like how crazy I can go, see what I can pull off, see what we can do. And then lo and behold, you get games like this where it's just like, bam, we win, right? So at the end of the day, I think it's kind of cool to show that when we limit test stuff like this and do comps that are slightly out of our norm of what we expect for Kumo to be playing, we can absolutely pull wins out and we can absolutely surprise teams, especially teams like 100 Thieves who are supposed to be these championship teams who are super awesome and great. So I like this comp. I like the fact that we pulled something out that was a little different for Kumo. And as for like Jinx and stuff, I think that's just kind of on the meta right now.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time to be a FlyQuest fan right now. I think we looked maybe better than some people would have expected, and I think that's really exciting. All right, so groups are done for FlyQuest. They've played all 4 of their games. They are locked into a quarterfinal spot. They can either get 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in Group A, which means they will play either the 1, 2, or 3 seed from Group B. And there's a few different permutations in terms of who they might play. Over in Group B, Immortals is knocked out, so they will not be playing them.
Which is the biggest surprise.
Which is the biggest surprise.
Yeah.
And then, so basically, the remaining games, there's only 2 remaining games in Group A. It's Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves, and it's Golden Guardians versus TSM. So to sum it up pretty quickly, FlyQuest can get 2nd if Cloud9 beats 100 Thieves and Golden Guardians beats TSM. That's for sure. If Cloud9 beats 100 Thieves and TSM wins, I'm not exactly sure how it pans out because it'd be like a weird tiebreaker situation. I'm not exactly sure how they would tiebreak that. But otherwise, we could see something where if 100 Thieves beats Cloud9 and then TSM beats Golden Guardians, FlyQuest drops down to 4th. 100 Thieves could win, and Golden Guardians could win, and FlyQuest stays in 3rd. So nothing's really set in stone. But I think the more important thing to do is look at the potential matchups for next week. So over in Group B, in 1st place right now, Evil Geniuses. 2nd place, Team Liquid. And this is all very fluid, of course. And then 3rd and 4th, respectively, are Dignitas and CLG. Likely,
I'm pretty sure EG is locked in 1st, right?
Yes, I believe. Yeah, they should be because they have the head-to-head. I think the only way, if Dignitas wins, because they have yet to play. If Dignitas beats CLG and beats EG, I believe Dig would actually get that 1st seed.
Oh, true. Okay.
I think. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
They would have to win both of their matches.
I am of the opinion that we will likely be playing either Evil Geniuses or Team Liquid, neither of which I am too particularly psyched about. Curly, is there, out of those 2 teams, which one are you more interested in facing?
Oh, man. Oh, this is so tough. All right, let's look at the rosters.
Let's go to the
it's kind
paper.
of crazy because you could technically we could fight any of those 4. We don't know how after Friday goes. We could play any of these 4 teams. So it's probably a pain in the butt right now for FlyQuest management to go, well, which one should we prep for? You're not going to know until Friday night.
Between EG and TL, though, assuming that they're most likely first, and just because of how the way things work out, we might end up in 4th. So under that assumption, I think I would rather face EG over TL.
Really?
Yeah. Because I don't want to beat Whip out. No, I'm kidding. But no, I'd rather face EG because, and I know Danny and Vulcan have looked really good together, and Jojo Pion's look pretty good. But I believe in terms of likelihood to get to the semifinals, I think we'd just have a better shot against EG because if we're able to keep up the the presence that Johnson has and make it more, and then use that veteranship from Afromu the way we did yesterday, and then I honestly, I'll just say this, I think Tukui right off the bat could just easily beat Jojo Pion, just because of the play style I've seen this weekend.
The oven's open!
There it is!
And so, I genuinely think that EG would be our best shot here because of the bottom half of the map. I would, however, be heavily concerned about top and jungle. Those are that is something we'd have to be so well prepared for. Because I disrespected Impact's ability last season, and I suffered for it. Impact is a better top laner than I've given him credit for. He's gonna bring all these kids, he's gonna carry them on his back to the best of his ability. So we need to figure out how to respect that. And then Inspired is was the second best jungler last year across both splits in the LEC. And so those just I'm nervous about that half of the map. But I think our bot, I think mid, bot, and support would be able to tent pull us enough to carry it through. So that's just why I think I'd rather take on evil geniuses. And even then, I'm still nervous.
Yeah, personally, I don't want to face either of these teams now.
Agreed.
I would rather the miracle second place finish somehow occurs and we take on Dig or Counter Logic Gaming. I think that is a much more exciting, much more interesting matchup for us, just in terms of being able to physically win. Now, look, we did get a nice win over 100 Thieves. It's not like we got absolutely curb stomped in the other games that we in the games that we lost. I actually think that this team, based on what we've seen so far, could make it actually some competitive games against some of these upper echelon teams. But for right now, I would actually love to watch us play Evil Geniuses, only because I think there's still so little known about how this roster is going to shake out. I mean, we've seen a lot of JoJo through Academy, but we still have not seen a lot of him through LCS. So I really want to see him against more LCS mid laners. I want to see how he does. And I would love to watch him take on Tukui. I think that'd be a fantastic... I think that'd just be really interesting in terms of, bracketing where certain players are in terms of things. So I think that could be a fun one, because I would love to see the big upset coming out.
Okay, so for clarification, you're saying you want to watch EG because it'll be the fun matchup, or because if you had to pick between TL and EG, that's the matchup you want?
So I think it would be more interesting in terms of a, what do you say, the matchup itself intrigues me, because I want to see Tukui versus JoJo.
For sure. I agree with you on that.
I want to see Danny Vulcan versus Johnson Afro. Like, those are matchups that are very intriguing to me. I'm not super interested in watching, like, Jose versus Santorin. We've seen that before. I'm not, maybe I'm kind of interested in seeing Tukui versus Bjergsen, but I'm more interested in the Tukui JoJo matchup personally. So it's strictly in terms of what the matchups are in the different lanes that I'm saying I would almost rather face the terrifying might of Evil Geniuses than Team Liquid right now. Also, you know what it is? I don't want to play Team Liquid in lock-in quarterfinals 2 years in a row. I'd like I'd like things to get changed up a little bit. But
if we do a year from now for the we'll just have a very short flight check preview for lock-in.
Yeah,
we will go 2-2 to barely make it out. We will play TL
in quarters and then get 2-0'd by TL in quarters. Yeah, I'd rather not get 2-0'd by TL in quarters. I don't want to feel like I'm in 2021 again. I left that year behind. So, Nox, I mean, the obvious answer is like, would rather play Dig or CLG, but I think this is a more intriguing question of, EG TL, which is the more interesting matchup. Who would you rather face?
So I agree with you, Sandy, that the more interesting matchup would be versus Evil Geniuses for all the reasons you just listed, on top of the fact that, in my opinion, Evil Geniuses is like FlyQuest's like rival, both in like branding, both in terms of like matchup scores, just like everything between like the two storylines of these two teams, right? Obviously, EG's more on top right now currently, but like historically, these two orgs have been very, very closely matched. And I think it would be very interesting, like you said, to watch the matchup between JoJo and Tukui. I think it would be a great matchup to watch our bot lane of Johnson and Afro move versus the up-and-comer Danny and his veteran support Vulcan. Even watching Inspired versus Jose Diodo should be fascinating, even if I'm kind of siding on Inspired's side of that. And then, obviously, Impact versus Kumo is, I mean, at least storyline-wise, kind of just like we've seen it. It's not that exciting, but it's still like cool to watch. So yeah, in terms of like excitement in like what I want to see, I want to watch EG versus Fly. For the team that has the best chance of us getting out, though, if we're playing the 1 or 2 seed, that's most likely from Group B, I have to give it to Team Liquid. EG's been playing out of their minds this past weekend. Vulcan, in my personal opinion, and a lot of analysts' opinion, has been like MVP so far this past weekend. He's been playing out of his mind. Danny has been nothing but solid. Jojo Pion, while having mistakes here and there, has been one of the better mid laners so far. Inspired is still looking like the number 1 Western jungler in the West right now, basically, straight up. And then Impact is Impact. Impact is just solid. You can't ever go wrong with that. You go look at TL, you have a bot lane that's constantly shifting, who isn't currently in synergy. You have Bjergsen, who, while has looked solid, has not really impressed me yet. You have Santorin, who is not inspired, so that's just a straight-up matchup difference. And then you have Bwipo top lane, which is probably honestly about the same as Impact, right? So like that doesn't really change too much from the top lane perspective. So in terms of what's going to get us further in this tournament, I want to watch us play TL. If I want to have a more fun time watching a matchup, I want to watch us play EG. And ideally, overall, I want to watch us play CLG because I know we could absolutely beat them still. And it's always fun to crap on your ex-players. Love you, Palafox.
I mean, absolutely. I would much rather play CLG Dig. I think, for me, in terms of predicting potential quarterfinals, if we play Dig or CLG, I expect to win that. Maybe 2-1, maybe 2, I'm not exactly sure. If we play EGTL, I don't expect to get past that matchup. Maybe there's a shot against TL winning that one. I think it would be very close if we did. But playing EG, I would expect to get 2-0'd for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Curly, if you have any differing opinion on that. I feel like that seems like a pretty solid analysis of the situation there. Oh, Curly seems to be muted.
Ha 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 ha. Sorry. Anyway. I think when it comes to Pick'em's time, I might do different numbers in that moment, but everything sounds just about right. I definitely would rather face Dig or CLG, and whichever one we face, I do think we would between those two.
Yeah, Nox. I mean, I think Dig CLG should be a dub. TLEG a lot tougher. I mean, between TLEG, do you think we could beat TL? I mean, it sounded like you seemed
better
like
chance we can beat TL than we can beat EG, in my opinion.
Hey,
I don't put it in favor of us, though.
10% chance is better than a 5% chance, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm always going to take that 10% over that 5%.
I will always take the 10% over the 5%.
You're gonna make me cheer against Bwipo.
It's certainly possible. Well, hey, let's get some quick. There's only 5 matches remaining for the group stage, so let me get some quick. And Fly doesn't play in any of them, so I'm gonna rapid fire these two guys. I want to know who you think is going to win. So CLG Dig, who's
CLG.
taking?
I actually think Dig will take it.
Interesting. All right, Cloud9 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves.
I think it'll be 100 Thieves.
100 Thieves. TL Immortals. Should be obvious.
TL. Come on, bro.
TSM Golden Guardians.
TSM.
I actually really hope Golden Guardians wins this because it helps our chances.
I want it to be Golden Guardians.
But I don't know, because here's the other thing: like, you have Golden Guardians who's like getting all these matches played. Like they played just earlier.
They're playing a lot.
Proving grounds, right?
It's true.
I really, really hope they clean it up and they can beat this TSM team.
I think they could beat this TSM team for sure. I mean, it's strictly an academy matchup, is what this is. So.
You know what? I got faith in the Golden Boys. They're going to do it. Golden Guardians is going to be TSM.
Golden Guardians going to lock us into at least 3rd place in this group. And then finally, EG versus Dig. I have EG here.
100%.
EG. Yeah, EG.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I think what we're basically predicting here is a Group B that goes EG 4-0, TL 3-1. Kind of split on Dig, so maybe a 2-2 for them. And then a 1-3 for CLG. So likely, if things go according to our predictions, playing TL, which I think maybe the less interesting matchup from the Nox and Sandy perspective, but maybe the more winnable matchup from the overall perspective. Well, that is lock-in. FlyQuest does not play Friday. They will be sitting at home waiting to find out who their quarterfinals matchup will be. And I also don't believe we know whether that will be Saturday or Sunday. But there are 2 best of 3s on each day. First best of 3, each day starts at 4:30. And the second one starts around, I mean, whenever the other one ends, but maybe, either 6:30 or 7:30 Eastern time for all of that. So we will see who they play.
Actually, I wonder if Leaguepedia can give you an idea if you look at the...
I was just trying to figure out. It does not tell you really whatsoever.
My assumption is it'll be A1, B4 is the first one on quarters.
And then A3, B2 maybe the next day. They'll do
then A2, B3 is first on Sunday, etc., etc.
You know what I mean? They'll do like half the bracket one day and half the bracket the next day. That's certainly possible. Yeah.
That or they'll do or they'll because they have to do it's best of 3, so they have to do those series. Yeah, it's only 2 a day.
LOL Esports doesn't even have it.
Yeah, no, we'll see how it goes.
It doesn't have it properly, but because if you look at the quarterfinals schedule on LOLpedia, like it has that Saturday, it says TBD versus TBD 16:30, TBD versus TBD 19:30. Because I have it military time, sorry.
Yeah, I have
I think it's automatically military time.
And then Sunday, the same thing. So it's going to be 2 matchups and then 2 matchups.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. All right, well, that's it for our lock-in discussion. Real quick, we're going to hit on one other FlyQuest League of Legends topic. Academy starts up this week, and FlyQuest Academy has their first matchups this week. Wednesday at 4 o'clock, they will be taking on Dignitas Academy. And then the next day, Thursday the 20th, also at 4 o'clock, taking on 100 Thieves Academy. So another FlyQuest 100 Thieves Academy matchup. And to remind you who the players are for FlyQuest Academy, it is Philip in the top lane, Yuji and Spirax in jungle and mid, and then the bot lane is comprised of Tomo and Diamond, with Soul Strikes leading this team as the head coach. They'll be playing, like I said, Dig Academy, which is Eclipse, XU, Darkwings, Spawn, and JJ, and then 100 Academy, which is Gamsu, Kenvi, Jimian, Wixie, and Sword. I hope I said Wixie correct. Wishi.
Yeah, that's probably.
I think you did.
Wixie. I mean,
Wixie.
Please, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I'll be honest. I don't know if we can really make predictions here. I think Academy teams, it's always difficult to kind of get a sense of power level. So what I'd rather have a quick discussion on is what are we looking for from the FlyQuest Academy team this year. So I think one obvious thing is top 6 and qualifying for the main event of Proving Grounds.
Top 6? That's it?
Well, I mean, qualifying
that's the minimum.
Right, that's the minimum. Like, we want to qualify for the main event of Proving Grounds for this spring. I don't believe there's no Academy playoffs. You just move straight to Proving Grounds now.
Correct.
So there is that. But on an individual basis, we've got some brand new players on the team in Yuji and Spirax, and we've got a bot lane that we've seen a lot of in Tomo and Diamond, and we've got a player who only joined in the middle of last summer in Philip. So, Nox, I just want to hear from you first. Maybe you can cover bot lane, and then Curly, you can maybe cover mid jungle. But what are you looking for, Nox, from Tomo and Diamond this spring in general, as we look to kind of figure out what pieces we've got here?
For our bot lane specifically, Tomo and Diamond are looking to be I'm looking at the bot lanes real quick. I'm going to say, they should be the second best bot lane in Academy behind... Well, even then, like, Sven's not even playing in Academy. It'll be...
It won't be.
Who is it? It'll be King, right?
Yeah, it should be King, yeah.
It should be, like, King and Isles, which that they should be going even with. So, like, they should be fighting for first place as, like, a bot lane in Academy, in my opinion. Yeah, because every other bot lane that's coming in right now is either brand new or has some very, very form of, like, an amateur player that's coming up right now. So, Tomo and Diamond are easily an LCS level bot lane. They could handle anyone, I think. They may not win their lane, but they could handle anyone in the LCS right now. So, they should easily be fighting for number 1 spot as bot lane in Academy. So that's what I'm looking for, as well as being in-game leaders for the rest of our new crew, in Spirax, Yuji, and Philip, right? Especially Diamond, who is kind of like a shot caller, right? And I'm hoping helps Yuji build up, or actually, I don't know who wants to be a shot caller amongst Spirax, Yuji, and Philip, but whoever wants to be that shot caller, that in-game leader, hopefully Diamond helps nurture them and get to that point, because I know Diamond can do that. He has more than enough potential to be a great teacher as well as an in-game leader.
Yeah, no, that's great. Curly, let's go to the mid-jungle duo in Yuji and Spirax.
Sure.
2 brand new players, one with barely any competitive experience at all, the other coming from the collegiate scene. What are you hoping to see from this mid-jungle duo?
For me, I love new talent.
Yes.
I'm always excited. Like, I was excited when we brought Philip in the middle of last season, and I personally think he performed to what I expected, particularly during Academy playoffs. And so that means it all goes back to I trust the this year especially. I trust the scouting process that FlyQuest went through, and so I'm expecting, personally, top 5 rankings. That's what I would want for these individual players. over the season, where like they're always in the conversation of these are at least the top 5 players, and that's the bare minimum, especially because these hopefully are the players that will either front our roster in 3 years, or will get a good like will get people trying to take them from us, you know? And so I'm really it's funny because you chose the 2 lanes I know the least about to like talk about, because I've only played side lanes, but I don't know, that's what I want. I don't know what their history is because there's not so much. Also for Spirax, I'm gonna be looking at him a little bit more scrupulously coming from Maryvale University, because you know there's high expectations for it. Yeah. They've dominated their respective scenes, so if you're coming from a top 1 team, that's what you should be doing here.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I'm going to hit on Philip really quick. So what I'm looking for from Philip, I think, is stepping up in terms of laning capabilities. So just looking at some of the laning stats from last year, kind of on the lower end, usually in a deficit in terms of gold and experience at 10 minutes. So I am really looking for him to step up in terms of his early laning versus these other teams, versus these other academy top laners. I think he has a real shot at being a great player. I think he's gotten a lot of praise from the other, I heard Brendan praising him a lot when he brought Philip onto the team. And I think there's a lot of good top laners in Academy right now. I feel like Academy is very stacked with top laners. So this is a chance for him to really step up. You've got players like Gamsu, Dokla, Darshan, Viper, Tony Top even comes to mind. Just a lot of players that are good, and he needs to really show to me that he can really keep up with some of these, you know, strong Academy veterans going into spring and hopefully heading into Proving Grounds, where some of those laning stats start to look a little bit better. And the eye test looks a little bit better, that his micro decisions in the lane just step up a little bit. All right, that is the Academy scene. Like I said, Dig Academy and 100 Thieves Academy. We'll get probably a better idea of the relative power levels of these teams once we, you know, have a full weeks of games to go through. In terms of the amateur scene, I know Path to LCS, the various amateur events are going on right now. What is the amateur event that is happening? It's on the tip of
it's Unified Premier.
Unified Premier. Knox would know that, seeing as how he is reffing for that tournament. We love having an insider here on the show. It's a good time. I believe that is everything regarding LCS. Oh, finally, the one last little bit and piece that we can discuss. The new jersey was announced.
Oh, yes.
The pink Sakura jersey. Let me see if I can pull this up on stream real quick for us to just kind of get a nice little look at. I am glad that on the homepage, at first the homepage said 2020 Sakura FlyQuest jersey now available. It now does officially say 2022, which is great. I'm glad to see that. Let me get a quick little window capture of the thing. Hang on, where'd it go? There we go.
While you're looking, quick shout out to FlexFan, who won the jersey giveaway yesterday in our watch party.
Did he really?
Nice.
Well, congratulations.
Yes,
so here we are, my little scuffed. There's the jersey preview, just hovering right under Curly.
What's up?
I mean,
I'll be wearing it in like a month, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I need to order mine as well, but that is absolutely beautiful. Great work by Fiend, per usual.
Always.
You can get your name on the back of this jersey. And now, from what I'm trying to understand, so let me fix this thumbnail really quick here. From what I understand, there was no quest announced alongside this new jersey. So we don't know what the new quest is yet. It's simply like the spring jersey. So we have yet to see what any further details are in terms of any quest or anything like that. Any ideas as to what we might possibly be seeing here? Some type of flower quest,
Knox, you got a
cherry quest. You got any inside details?
Yeah,
for
you
us?
got any inside info, Mister FlyQuest mod?
I actually I do not have any inside info.
Gotcha.
The way you started that sentence, I was like, he could be about to say, "I actually do know stuff, and I can't tell you," and just be an absolute tease.
Unfortunately, you guys know about as much as I do in terms of quest-related stuff. My insider info, I haven't had around in over a month or so, and I probably won't be getting any more in a while.
Well, that's unfortunate.
But speculation-wise, I feel like we might actually just be growing a little bit. Like FlyQuest might actually be growing out of tying the quests directly to the jerseys. And I think we might just be, because especially once we had sunset quests, obviously the jerseys tied together, but to me that felt like different than any other quest kind of thing we've had. Flower quests might be definitely a thing, as Ricebox mentioned in chat. I think we also just might go to more of a permanent quest of just general sustainability. Who knows? Yeah,
I believe this is this jersey is 25% recycled materials, which is absolutely fantastic. We love to see that. I think Cloud9 also theirs
is 100%.
Their stuff is 100%. They're really stepping it up. So
Cloud9's is only that jersey. All of our store materials are all at least minimum 25%.
Yeah. Well, that's really exciting. So another great jersey, more great work. We've got, the players here. Which player is this, actually? I can't... Is this...
That's Tomo.
That's Tomo. And then here's Johnson looking absolutely great. I can't tell...
Or no, is that Kumo? Sorry, that was Kumo. Was it Kumo?
No, that was Tomo. I'm pretty sure that was Tomo. And then this is Johnson. And I can't tell if, if his hair is dyed or if it's the light. I think it's the light, right?
I think it's the light.
Well, either way, looking good, staring straight into your soul.
Then we got Takui.
Yeah, then we got Takui down there, also staring straight into your soul. So,
I mean, personally, my favorite thing is when LCS players stare into my soul.
Yeah. I mean, what can go wrong with that? Okay, well, that, I believe, is the show, unless you gentlemen have any further things to throw out there.
I do not. I'm just excited for next weekend. I'm excited to see this best of 3 where we kick whoever's butt it is that we're gonna kick. It's gonna happen.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, I need to close out this. Close out my script.
Leaks.
All right. Hey, don't worry. If you were on the podcast side of things, you couldn't hear anything. Before we close the show, I do want to thank any friends who subscribed tonight. Thank you, Road Roller, for the 5 gifted subs. Greatly appreciate it. And then also thank you to Cat Got Your Thumbs for the Prime a few minutes ago. Thank you, everybody, so much for your generosity. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of Flight Check. We'll be following the LCS lock-in action very closely this weekend, trying to figure out who our quarterfinal matchup will be against, and then, of course, we'll be throwing out our quick predictions there once we know. So be sure to follow us on Twitter for all of our instant reactions on thoughts. You can catch the show at Flight Check Crew, myself at SantosDB, Nox at NoxWar with 2 R's, and Curly at Curly_QQ_. Make sure to hop into our Discord as well. All kinds of esports discussion and otherwise is taking place in there. Any live viewing of the games, make sure to throw into the Pro League Spoilers channel. If you missed any part of this episode, the VOD will be up on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning, and the audio version of this episode should go up on Spotify shortly thereafter. If you're listening to the audio version of this episode and would like to catch the show live, we broadcast the episode every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at twitch.tv/FlightCheckCrew. Curly, any final notes or shoutouts or plugs before we wrap up the show tonight?
I don't think I have many big shoutouts. I'm just happy to have LCS back in my life.
Amen.
And I guess plugs is that I'm gonna try to get in the habit of like doing 1 or 2 VOD reviews, usually on my Mondays, on my own personal stream. So if you want to see me go more in depth with one game, then I probably will on this show. Go ahead and keep an eye out for my tweets for that, so you can watch me learn how to get better at watching LCS games.
Nice, love that. Nox, how about you? Any shout outs? I know you're reffing some games in the near future.
Yes, I will be a referee for Maryville University tomorrow night, playing against Taco Gaming in Unified Premier's Proving Ground Open qualifiers. So that'll be fun. Outside of that, go watch 100 Talk Pod here in about 10 minutes. It's their first true podcast of the season coming up, and they'll have to acknowledge that they lost to us, and I will be in the chat.
Yep, I am looking
I'll
forward
be in the chat
to,
too. I kind of accidentally threw down the gauntlet, so I can't wait to see if they've got anything to say about that.
Yeah, they definitely need to figure out what went wrong for 100 Thieves in that game. For myself, nothing too crazy. Thank you to these two fine gentlemen for coming on the show with me once again every week. We will be back next week to review FlyQuest's quarterfinals matchup, and hopefully their semifinals matchup as well, and previewing that.
Crazy.
We'll see. Wouldn't that be lovely? So for now, stay safe out there. Don't forget to hit the head on the nail, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Adios.
Every time. Have a good one, guys.
Peace, y'all.